Hey, what up? It's Brad with Home Love Construction. Welcome to another episode of the Critical Path Podcast. I have a bit of an off-the-wall guest here with me today. Who I have with me today is a guy named Tony Falcaro. And Tony's a very good friend of mine, begrudgingly.
I'm all in, brother.
Begrudgingly. No, Tony's a great friend. We golf, we smoke cigars, we talk about life and livingness and, purpose in life. But Tony is, the reason I wanted to bring him on is really to have a sales conversation because Tony is a master salesman, but in a way in which I never had Tony ask me for something or seen him ask anybody for something where it actually felt like they were being sold in the way that people normally think of it. And so anyways, with all that said, why don't you introduce yourself, tell people who you are, the way you like to be introduced, because I probably did it wrong. We also give each other a ton of shit.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think you did a pretty good job. I don't know about master salesman. It's like, I don't think in sales.
Sensei.
Yeah. Honestly, I've developed and learned a lot about sales. It's funny. I was fundraising someone the other day and he says, when did you start in sales?
Yeah.
So I went back to when I started a sales job and realized that wasn't when I started. I was 11 years old. Mm-hmm. I'll give you the short version. I lived in a bad neighborhood.
Yeah.
We
got time. We can do the long version.
Well, I lived in a bad neighborhood in New York City.
Yeah.
A dangerous neighborhood.
Yeah.
So when I was going to school, there were guys that bullied you and took your lunch money.
Yeah.
Right. So I would observe classmates getting pinned up against the wall in not the elevator, but in the stairway, and give me your lunch or give me your lunch money.
Yeah.
So I was kind of and so one day a bully cornered me and I actually talked him out of taking my lunch money.
Wow.
And that was my first sale.
What did you say to him?
It was just I didn't act scared, but I said, you don't really want to be doing this. I know you don't want to be doing this. I appealed to the goodness in a person, even though they were doing something that was not good.
Yeah.
I knew deep down somehow he didn't really want to do this. And when I said that to him, I felt him sort of move backwards. And I said, now I can help you if you need some lunch money, I'm willing to, help you get some, have some of my lunch. You know what I mean? Because he needed a face saver. Because if I just cut him off he was going to do it, face savers when you get the guy to think that it was his idea in the first place, especially if he's adamant about, his point of view.
Yeah.
But that was my first sales thing. And I've been learning ever since. And I'm 72 years old now and still loving what I do. And yeah.
Bro, so, wow, that's amazing. So first sales cycle ever, right?
Yeah. Sale.
Recognize the goodness, the rightness of the person.
That's right.
Right. Make him right. Agree with him.
Yeah.
And then also give him a face saver at the same time.
That's correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you and I both share a passion for a book. The book is called Big Leagues. What's the exact name? It's a surefire sales closing techniques.
Closing techniques, yeah.
It's colloquially called Big League Sales. It's
That's
a book
correct.
by Les Dane.
Les Dane, right.
Phenomenal book. I mean, our entire...
It's the Bible.
Yeah, bro, it really
on my bedstand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, our entire at Home Love Construction, that's what we train our salespeople on.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
Oh, we haven't talked about this? Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Have I showed you the drills that I made?
No, you told me you made drills, but you didn't share them with me. I guess I wasn't trusted enough to see the secret conclave.
I'll give them to you. You already know everything that's in them anyways. Oh, but maybe you don't, though.
Maybe I don't.
So anyways, we've used this. And the reason that I wanted to use that, we use two things. I'll be fully transparent. We use Big League Sales to really, in the person's initial train up, and we find it's very effective. If somebody can get through the 4 weeks of training, 100% they will close a deal on the fourth week, no question. Because the material actually just works, but it works in a way that people like it. The clients like to be handled the way that it tells you to handle the clients. Then the other thing that we use on the back end as a continuing thing is Grant Cardone's Cardone University.
Oh, okay.
Because that's a mindset of, hey, make the person right. Don't make them wrong.
Right.
Agree with the client. Follow up. It's more of like the the active, because there's Les Dane doesn't necessarily talk about follow up with the guy.
Right.
It's kind of an implied thing.
Sure.
But people these days don't actually know that. You realize that if we hire like a 24-year-old person to do sales, they think that following up is like, they're like, I don't want to be annoying. That's the most common thing.
Yeah. Sure.
You know?
Sure.
So when did you first encounter big league sales? What did you think about it when you first encountered it?
Well, I was actually working for an organization doing recruiting.
Yeah.
And part of the curriculum or the education part of it was to read big league sales.
Wow.
And it's quite a bit to wrap your head around. I mean, it's got a lot of, it's sort of jam-packed with information. So it's like, you can't really just study it and get it and do it. You know, you sort of enter it a little bit at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned some basics about, and what you mentioned about Grant Cardone's book or course or whatever it is, has everything to do, I mean, the need to be right is a very powerful force in individuals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like couples, I mean, in every aspect of relationships everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the husband and the wife, you know, like you left the toilet seat up, you know, it's like, well, you know, that's the way it is. You know, they have to be right about their point of view.
That's right.
And early on, when you try to dominate someone or change their mind, which I gave up on a long time ago. You know, it's just, it's a silly thing to think you're going to change somebody's mind. They have to change their mind.
That's right.
And obviously the product that you sell.
I don't want to just roll over that. So, so it's I actually share this viewpoint that you don't change somebody else's mind. It's impossible.
Yeah.
They have to change their own mind.
That's right.
Dude, maybe we could just like get the federal government to understand, you know what I mean? Or like, you know, the correctional system or the education system, like just that basic concept. I feel like most people, actually like 99, maybe 97% of people would agree with that.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's like, for some reason, that's not actually the way the world is set up.
It's true. And you know, when you have an approach of dominance, where like, you know, your ego's involved and your need to be right is involved, like it's totally okay with me. And the people that I work for don't necessarily appreciate this point of view, but it's totally okay with me if I'm in a sales cycle. I don't really do sales now, I do fundraising, but that the person says no and walks away. And my affection for the person, my care for the person doesn't shift. It doesn't go down because he didn't do it, it's almost like karma. It's almost like sales karma. Like you do your best presentation. And if the person doesn't agree or doesn't do it and walks away, you remain friends with them. It's about long-term relationships. And something else will come your way.
That's right.
You know, that's kind of how I approach it.
So that's very real to me. So I interrupted you on you were going through big league sales and you were talking about how you enter it and you pick up data kind of number of times over. Yeah,
and there's always the theory and the practical, right? There's the theory of reading it, and in your mind you imagine the scenarios, and then you're in it. You know, you're in a situation like he talks about the shopper stopper, right? Where the guy says, okay, well, thanks for the presentation. I'm going to go. And then there's ways to get him to not shop or to at least get him to come back before he buys, right?
Yeah.
The practicality of that is a bit different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a drill. It's a drill. You learn the theory and then you do the drill and then you get better at the drill and then you read the theory again. You get new understandings. You can always learn and expand. I think that's really a part of a salesperson, or in my case, a fundraiser's job, is to learn more.
Yeah.
And I've actually learned, the organization I work for now, which is a humanitarian oriented organization, in the last 16 years, I've actually learned more about sales than I did the previous, since I was 11.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
But
he said his age earlier. I'll let you do the math.
Right. But it's interesting because the impetus for me when I was 11 was to save my butt. Save my lunch money. There was like a threat in the environment and I needed to, and the humanitarian purposes that I have now is sort of in the same vein. It's like I almost came full circle, but on a larger scale, you know?
It's like save everybody's butt.
That's right. Save everybody's butt. Because if you don't, your butt's not going to make it anyway, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, true. Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second on like, on help. one thing that you just kind of slid in there at the end is like you hold the belief, and this is becoming more real to me over time, that if everybody doesn't make it, then you don't make it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which is that's sorry to cut you off, but that's a heavy concept.
Yeah, it is.
And in a world that's dangerous in many regards, it's difficult for somebody to reach out beyond their own protective space to realize that. They're fighting for their 3 squares a day, the economy and this and that and all the things that we have in our society, the dangers that exist. It's hard for somebody to reach outside of protecting themselves in their own, to realize that if I don't make sure everybody does good and makes it, quote unquote, that I'm not going to make it. And even if I do make it, sort of in whatever standards I have, what good is it?
That's right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, if everybody else is doing bad.
Yeah, that's why I'm a fundraiser.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not selling something else. Not that there's anything wrong with selling things. People need things, but I feel that's a more important mission for me.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And so what was the, I'd love for you to share the transition into fundraising, because that we've talked about this. I think this is a story where you were walking on the beach. You're like,
dude, you're gonna get me crying. You're gonna get me crying over here, man. That's not. I didn't sign up. I didn't sign up for this.
Well, tell the story anyways.
Oh, seriously? Oh man.
You don't have to cry. It's your choice whether you cry. I didn't have the intention to make you cry.
No, that's.
But okay. No, it's a powerful story.
It's an emotional. It's an emotional thing. Yeah. I had worked for an organization.
Yeah.
In various capacities, as I mentioned earlier, recruitment, et cetera, et cetera. And it was a humanitarian type organization. It had different sections.
Yeah.
One section fully dedicated to social betterment programs.
Yeah.
Which they did separate fundraising for.
Yeah.
Drug rehabilitation programs, prisoner rehabilitation programs, human rights, educational programs for adults and children. Right. A lot of areas.
Yeah.
But I was kind of on the downside of my retirement, sort of semi-retired.
Yeah.
I was living.
You were like phasing out kind of.
Yeah. I was working as a consultant and working like 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, living my best life, smoking cigars, drinking coffee, walking on the beach in Santa Monica. I lived on the beach, playing golf. But I was helping to raise my granddaughter.
Yeah.
My first grandchild. And one day we're on the beach walking, and we're just walking and talking. And here's a girl, she's 8 years old, living what you would consider a sheltered life. She went to private school.
Yeah.
She lived with me and my wife part of the time. Her mom part of the time. Her mom was a single mom.
Yeah.
And no TV, no outside influences particularly.
Yeah.
And we're walking on the beach, and she starts telling me about how terrified she is of the world.
Oh, wow.
Drugs and crime.
Oh, wow.
And violence. And I broke.
Yeah.
I was like, as a person, she's my best friend. You are going to make me cry. And I realized that I needed to do something.
Yeah.
For her future. So interestingly enough, sometimes you make a decision and it's very flippant and offhand. It's not like I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And like 2 days later, I happened to be going down to the organization, and a guy that I knew who was in charge of the fundraising aspect, the humanitarian fundraising aspect, literally saw me and jumped into my Range Rover and said, I need you to come work for me. I was like,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's funny how like sometimes you don't make a connection between the thought that you have and the world around you conforming to that thought.
That's right. That's right.
And so at first it was like, why is he doing this to me?
As if.
You know what I mean? Like things happen to you and it's like somebody did that to you, and then you kind of go, maybe I did
that to myself.
Maybe I did that to myself, Anyway, so he basically said, your retirement plan is shit. And I
thought he said disapproved.
Well, he did say disapproved. He actually did say disapproved. And so I started this in 2009, and I started working for the organization, and I feel like it's my calling. It's my niche in life. It's what I have been groomed to do
Yeah.
over all of the jobs I've had, all of the experience I've had, all of the education I've had is simply to do this.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think
Amazing,
that's
man.
important for anyone who sells anything, quote
Yeah.
unquote, sells anything. We don't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
call it sales, we call it fundraising. But
Yeah. Yeah.
if a person, you have to have a passion for what you do. If you're doing it for a paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
it's just too many, it's too hard.
Yeah.
It's too hard. There's too many barriers
Yeah.
and you won't respect yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the sale for me, quote unquote, is a change condition,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Like somebody changing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Well, and using the funds, obviously, to change things.
For sure. Totally. So one thing we were talking about as we were walking over here, beautiful story, by the way. It's
Thanks.
amazing. I don't want to leave that unacknowledged.
That's okay.
Thank you. You know, it was funny. I had my friend, this guy Drake, who I've been friends with for a long time, who I met when I first moved back to Florida when I got out of the Army.
Okay.
He owned a similar business. We were in a networking group together. We've just stayed really good friends. I was like, I'm going to get you to cry on this podcast. And I was like, I got so close. Didn't cry though. I guess I just needed to
It's the Jerry
effortlessly.
Maguire syndrome. You remember Jerry Maguire?
No.
Where Cuba Gooding Jr., he earlier on in the film, he's watching this ESPN interviewer guy interview an athlete, and the guy starts crying.
Yeah.
So he's not going to do it. He makes fun of it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then later on, he gets the big contract, right? And he's
Yeah.
on, and the guy starts to make him cry. So he's like, I told you not to make me cry.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Exactly.
obviously it's very personal and
Yeah.
it means a lot to me.
Yeah, I love that. So on the way walking over here, we were talking about how, the reason I say sell is because I don't think sales is a dirty word. Like
No,
a lot
not-
of people
definitely
consider
not.
it out there. They consider it's like, don't want to sell. It's like, dude, salespeople make entire economies.
Mhm.
Without a salesperson, there's no interchange of goods and money. An economy is just a movement of money.
Yeah.
Anyhow, they literally make the world go round. So try to run a business without salespeople. Let me know how it goes.
All right.
It's like, bleh.
For sure.
Anyhow, most people, companies, organizations, whatever, they sell, a physical thing, right? Or a physical, hey, we're going to come and do this for you, right? And as a fundraiser, and this will be real to any fundraiser who watches this, you are selling basically the idea of help.
Right.
Like use your money to help. And people, so let's talk about help.
Yeah.
And how, man, I mean,
Huge.
there's a lot.
Oh, dude.
It's like
I'm telling
good
you.
button, bad button, can't work, must work. It's like, let's just talk about help for a second.
Wow. And I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
And you know what, this is, I'll let you talk here
go
in a second,
ahead.
but
Yeah.
Grant Cardone says there's one word that changed his life and made him who he is, and it's the word help.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He said that to many, many, many millions of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can see that. And it's interesting you brought it up because you brought it up earlier and I had a point to make about help
Oh, perfect.
because it's very
got your
critical.
intention.
Yeah. It's very critical to the sales / fundraising situation.
Oh, yeah.
Give you an example. And you talk about buttons, right?
Mhm.
There's the concept of help.
Just to define real quick, because I want people to follow. A button is like somebody may have like it's a sensitive area of somebody's universe in a good or a bad way.
That's right.
It can make them really want to do something, or it can make them really want to not do something.
That's right. It's like a button. You press it
Yeah.
and then you get a reaction, good or bad.
Something happens.
Right.
Yep.
So when you talk about help, right, I'll give you an example. At some point in my career, I sold consulting to dentists.
Oh, wow.
The dentists are easy prey. They're there in the office, right? The guy who's a dentist, they have the same mindset. They figure, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to learn how to fix teeth.
Mhm.
I'm going to be really good at it. I'm going to put up a shingle and people are going to show up.
Yeah.
They do one business class, business administration class in school, and that's it. They don't know how to recruit. They don't know how to hire. They don't know how to manage. They don't know how to organize. They don't know how to handle personnel. They know shit about doing a business.
Totally.
So they're ripe for failure, right?
That's true.
Because they think if you build it, they will come. And
Yeah.
that's not the case.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway,
Man, how many businesses has Field of Dreams just effed up?
I know, right?
Oh
Totally.
my God.
Totally. So there they are, their first year of business. They're dying,
Yeah.
financially and every other way. And then, Joe Consultant shows up with a business card and goes, "Hi, I can help consult your business," and gives him a card. He goes, "Oh my God, my savior."
Yeah.
Right. So then he's paying him whatever he's paying him, and nothing changes. Nothing changes. Nothing changes.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next guy comes, right? The next guy comes. The next guy comes. Then I show up 15 guys down the line, and he sees little horns like sticking up out of my head because I'm talking the talk, right?
Yeah.
And he got, so he's not saying he's pissed off about help and how help doesn't work and so forth. And this guy told me that, but I have to get him to talk about it. Yeah. And that's actually a key thing is you get the person, in my case, to talk about help.
Yeah.
And about help that didn't work out so good. Yeah. That help actually harmed him. So the guy's like, "Yeah, my brother-in-law, I could trust him, and he charged me $10,000 a month to do my marketing, and I had not one new patient." So you get him blow off steam, and this is the thing about the button is you get him to talk about it, and he blows off steam. Mm-hmm. And once he blows off steam, he's much more receptive to your communication. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really important point as far as the subject of help goes. Yeah. Because you can't help somebody who's like pushing up against you and doesn't think help is even possible.
Absolutely.
And depending upon how long down the line, you get a dentist who's been in business 40 years and he's like wants to hang himself every night when he goes home. Yeah. It takes a lot to revive his desire and his want to be successful. Yeah. Yeah, which is part of the deal.
Yeah, and his willingness to even consider accepting help.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as the rep of a salesperson and how they're valued, it's kind of like attorneys. I think it's attorneys and salespeople 1 and 2 in terms of, what people think about them. Yeah. And it sometimes it's warranted. If a sales guy has the mindset that he'll do whatever it takes to get the sale and doesn't really look out for the customer or the consumer, he's doomed to fail. Yeah. Number one, and he leaves a bloody trail behind him of the next guy and the next guy and the next guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you worked with any bad salespeople in your career?
Any bad salespeople?
Yeah, like salespeople were just bad. Who comes to mind when I say bad salesperson? You don't have to say by name, but you can just give a general description.
Bad salesperson.
Hopefully nobody near present time.
Well, let's put it this way. People who have longevity, I think that's the key. It's longevity. I don't think bad salespeople can really thrive. I mean, maybe they can hang on and make a modicum of money or whatever. Sure. But to people that are successful at it, I think have the right chemistry and the right attitude. And it's not the customer is always right, but sort of. Yeah. So I think I've seen a lot of green sales guys, with the deer in the headlights look on their first interview. It's like, what do I say now? Kind of thing. I've come across a lot of those that come and go. Yeah. Because you got to make a living at it too. Right. And that was always important to me. I'm not a martyr. I'm not somebody who yes, and I made the sale, but I didn't make any money. But
fuck
that. It's like for me, it's like success for me is also part of the deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, plus I raised a family of 4. I now have 9 grandchildren.
Amazing.
Do you know what I mean? Who I help support and raise because it's important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you take your grandpa hat what do your grandkids call you? Grandpa? What?
Different names.
Oh, yeah.
The first one that I told you about, who's now 24.
Oh, wow.
She started calling me Pops.
Yeah.
Pops. Pops.
That feels very appropriate.
Yeah. Some of them call me Papa Tone. Some call me Papa. And my newest, my second youngest, Shiloh, my incredible buddy, he saw a Cybertruck the other day. We were in St. Pete. He saw a Cybertruck and fucking freaked out, like, Cybertruck. So I went online and I got him a Cybertruck and I delivered it to him. He went out of his mind. He went he just went completely nuts. We were all sitting there and he was just like freaking out, Cybertruck. Anyway, he calls me Tony.
No.
He does.
Way.
Tony.
Really?
Tony.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you because that's real to me that you see a lot of green salespeople, because that's right. The people who stick around, they're good. They understand something about sales and getting people to do something that works. So for new salespeople, what are the biggest mistakes that you see new salespeople make?
And that's an excellent question, because because one of my very successful things, aside from allowing the person to be who they are, right, and not trying to dominate them or change their mind, is the reverse of that, is I'm who I am. So if you have an idea in your mind of what a salesperson should be like, and you try to mold yourself into that, that's a lose. That's a lose from the very beginning. Like, you have to be yourself.
Yeah.
And don't fear the consequences of being yourself.
Wow.
You know,
burn that in letters of fire on your forehead.
Yeah, because like you're sitting with a person and you say, you know, if you're trying to be the sales guy, but you're thinking,
let me just say what you just said again. Don't fear the consequences of being yourself.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you a real example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm fundraising this woman for $100,000 for our organization.
Yeah.
Very well off. Don't be thrown off by the number. Like, oh, that's a lot of money. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Yeah. But this person is quite well off.
Yeah.
She's in her 50s. I was in my 60s. And we're sitting at this conference room.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly new at the job, right? And I'm sort of, there's a few people in the room and they're talking to her and, you know, proposing this and that and the other thing. And she's going, no, not going to do it. Not going to do it. She could give us $100,000 and nothing would change in her life.
Yeah.
You know, same situation.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to her talk, and she's basically telling me how she's basically not involved in any kind of humanitarian situation, which she should have been, being part of our organization.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and everyone's trying to like convince her. And all I kept thinking is, you lazy fucking bitch. You are a lazy fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Like, get off your ass and do something productive.
Yeah.
And my stomach is like jittering, and I'm in front of all these people and I'm new at the job, and I go, that's all I kept thinking about.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, no, you gotta, and I said, no. And I just said, I'm sorry, everyone. Please don't be offended by this. And I mean this in the best way possible, but you're a lazy fucking bitch. Like, why are you so fucking lazy? And
I would not recommend this as a sales tactic, for the record, especially for any fundraisers watching.
Right. I understand.
Yeah.
The point is not what I said. The point is that I remain true to my communication.
Totally.
And to make me totally right, she took out her Platinum Amex card and gave me $100,000, much to the dismay and shock of everyone else in the room. Like, literally, I looked around the room and they were all like, and again, you know, disclaimer. Can you do a disclaimer thing? Don't
roll at the bottom of the screen.
Don't do this at home.
Do not attempt at home. Trained professionals.
Yeah. So that's a very radical thing.
Yeah.
But here's another example. You're talking,
and that's not a strategy. Like, you don't go around and I've actually never seen you invalidate anybody ever.
No.
But if the situation is extreme enough where somebody just needs to say something that's clear to everyone there, but everyone's scared to say it because they're scared they're going to offend the prospect.
Right.
I've had many situations actually that I can think of in our construction business where I will do a very similar thing. I'll be like, why are we trying to save $30,000 here when this is the most important $30,000 we can spend? And they'll be like, oh shit, you're right. Okay, let's add it.
Exactly.
Like, I had that with $1.5 million dollar prospect where now the contract's well over $2 million.
Right.
Where they're like trying to save money on this, and I get on a call and I'm like, okay, so first thing I want to address, this beam is going in, or we're not doing the project. I'm like, it's $35,000 to open up the whole deal. And the guy on the other end who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, he's like, you know what, Brad, thank you for saying that. You're right.
Right. But see, here's my point, though. You mentioned the word invalidation. Invalidating.
Yeah.
In actual fact, I was validating her. I mean, it was in a gruff, you know, I'm from New York. I'm in the streets of New York. It's actually, that was my intention, was not to invalidate her, but to validate her and how good she actually is and how valuable she actually is.
Yeah.
I said it in a gruff way and I got away with it.
Yeah.
You know, but the truth is it was a validation of her.
Yeah.
You know, and the reason you said we won't do the project unless the beam goes in was out of care for the guy, not to make the money.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's all about the impetus.
That's right.
It's all about why.
It's not like we made money. shit, I think we fucking overpaid for the steel. We lost money on the beam. But it was like yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And that's the underlying factor, is that you're actually caring about the person. And that's a sort of a gruff and unusual way of doing it.
Yeah.
But I've sat with people and you're talking to them, and all I kept thinking about is this guy's not even listening to me. He's not even interested in what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I would just, I'd blow it up and say, well, you don't seem to be listening to me. Is this not interesting to you at all? I love that. What it does is it gets them into communication.
That's right.
And that's the trick. You have to get the guy into communication. It's not the sales cycle, the fundraising cycle, it's not a lecture.
Yeah.
Most, I think it's at Les Dane that says most salespeople talk too much. Or one book that I read.
Know who says it? I definitely say it. That's actually what I thought the first thing was going to be out of your mouth is new salespeople. They talk too much.
Right. Well, they're trying to be the sales guy.
By the way, if I'm looking this way, I'm just looking direct at the camera so I can say something. If you want to say something directly to the camera, just say it to the camera.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, like literally, I get new salespeople and I hear them on the phone and I'll walk into the sales office. I know if there's a new guy in there, I'll just go stand next to him and hear him on the phone. Right. And then when he hangs up, I'll be like, listen, man, here's what I want you to do. On the next call, I want you to practice this. You're going to ask a question and then you're going to shut the fuck up. Right. And I'll sit there and I'll be like, call him and ask him a question. And he'll say, hey, have you gotten your project done? And I'll grab his shoulder when he starts talking past the question. I'll grab his shoulder and I'll go,
right.
And he'll sit and wait, and then the person will actually respond. And now all of a sudden, you're in communication with the person.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And then I think in Les Dane, he talks about listen for the close.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, I actually have one client that I work with who drills me on that.
Yeah.
And he actually makes the point of making sure no matter how long it is between the time I ask him for the donation and the time he says yes, he actually tests me to make sure.
That's right.
I think the longest was 11 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
11 and a half minutes.
You're going to have to get a timer or something. You have to get like an hourglass. When the hourglass is done, if you can keep from talking,
that
prospect, boom.
That's
there
right.
You go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really important to be able to, as a person who's making an ask, and life is a big, but life is sales. Yeah. Life is one big sales.
That's
cycle, right. You're selling your wife on getting married to. You're selling your kids on putting their shoes on. You're like, man. Sure. You also, by the way, to parent in a way that I'm realizing this. Like literally, I was thinking about this morning with Penelope. You know my family and our kids really well.
Of course, yeah.
And Penelope's getting older and much more outspoken and opinionated on things.
Of course.
And so I'm like handling her to like, okay, go get this, do this, put your shoes on. I'm literally realizing I've become a master at the I don't know if there's a sales technique that goes along with this, but I'll get her to do something with a swap. I'm like, okay, you do this and I'll do this for you. It's like a little like whew.
Absolutely.
Like if you want to raise kids without having to like dominate the kids, which have no interest in doing that and never have. You have to become a master of the swap, I think.
Absolutely.
It's like you got to give something to them and then they'll boom.
Right, just but like that, again, that flows along with the concept of granting them who they are.
That's right.
If you dominate as a parent, not to give people advice about parenting, but I've raised 4 amazing children and I have 9 beautiful grandchildren. So I think I have some statistics to back up my bravado here.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
If you want to dominate your kids, get a dog.
That's right.
Train a dog. Yeah, and even when you train a dog, there has to be some kind of swap there. You know what I mean? Otherwise you get an angry dog.
That's right.
Yeah. But that's a beautiful, the swapping thing is very important.
Yeah.
Because imagine being a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, not to get off on a tangent, but imagine, being told when to eat, when to sleep, have your diaper changed. When I didn't do this with my kids because I didn't have the concept, but with my grandchildren, if I were going to pick them up, physically pick them up, I would say, I'm going to pick you up now.
Oh, wow.
Like I would let them know, like, I'm going to grab your hand now. I'm going to hold your hand. I'm going to do... Like, let them know in advance, because I'm thinking if I'm, as an adult, imagine some big hand comes in right now and just yanks you out of the chair, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like,
true.
How would you feel about that?
I would not like that.
You would not like that. My wife is actually the grandchild whisperer, though. She's the best. Oh, yeah. She's She's amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Dude, you know what that, man, yeah, that's a good reminder of like, for me, when I was a kid, and I'm curious about it's fine to be on a tangent. It's,
Okay, sure.
whatever. So for me, when I was a kid, I remember all I wanted to do when I was a kid was become an adult.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And I don't now want to be a kid, by the way. Most people are like, when you're a kid, you just want to be an adult. When you're an adult, you just want to be a kid. I don't want to be a fucking kid.
I don't want to be a kid.
That is not interesting to me. I want to be actually a more adult.
Right.
That's actually what's interesting to me.
Sure.
But I remember always being told what to do. And I was like, God damn, I hate being told what to do. I still hate being told what to do.
I know.
But I was like, because I had certainty that I knew what I needed to do better than anybody around me could possibly know what I needed to do at any given moment.
Sure.
Yeah. So that always bugged me. So do you have any recollection like that from when you were a kid of like wanting to just be an adult? Was that real to you or not really?
No. And if I had known you were going to get so personal, I would have been busy today.
Good.
I mean, because if you want a real answer, like I could make up an answer. Or a shadow of an answer. But the actual answer is I grew up in an environment with an alcoholic, violent dad, with 5 sisters and brothers, and he was violent. And all I remember about my youth was being afraid.
Wow.
So it's kind of like when you're in a dangerous environment, this has nothing to do with sales, right? When you're in a dangerous environment, like you're very cloistered. You're very like your attention and everything is like around your physical body. Like you have no thoughts of success, thoughts of the future. Like you just want to make it through the fucking day without your dad smacking you for some reason.
Yeah, that's right.
So the truth of it is, I mean, I also, he threw me out of the house when I was 16 years old. It was a really funny story. The hippie days. And I was growing my hair. My hair was shorter than it is now.
Really?
And my girlfriend at the time gave me a set of love beads.
Really?
And I was actually on the phone at home, and he was trying to reach the house.
Yeah.
And he came home drunk.
Yeah.
And I won't get into the graphic nature of whatever, but he smacked me around and basically said, and I was always hopeful that we could reconcile. Like I always had this hope that like, this will work out, And he basically said, this ain't working out. It's like, if you don't like it, this is my home, get out.
Yeah.
And then I was a junior in high school. And the next day I left with my lunch bag with a pair of underwear and socks in it. That was like my packing and never went home.
Wow.
Right. So I didn't have any, but interesting enough, after that, then I had to be an adult.
You were an adult.
I had to be an adult. I had to make my own way and so forth. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what, like,
I'm going to get my publicist to in the next contract, there's no personal questions.
No, this is great. This is great. So what do you think, like for you, what was the value of that? Do you find that to have been a valuable thing in your life that you had to go through that? Or is it like, damn, I wish I hadn't had to go through that? I'm curious.
Well, it's interesting because, my siblings, the trauma of that molded their view of family. Like the one consistent thought that I had through all of that was, this is bullshit. This isn't how family is.
Oh, wow.
This is not the norm.
There was a disagree.
Yeah. This was an anomaly. This was an aberration. And my siblings grew up with...
How the fuck did you know that?
Know what?
How did you know?
How did I know what?
How did you know that it was not, like, this is not...
People know things, they just know on some level.
Yeah.
Not to wax philosophical here, but they just know on some level that the rightness of something, and they deny it. You know what I mean?
Okay, good. Yeah, that's real.
And that's a character flaw.
Yeah.
Like when you know something, you know something.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you actually alluded to it earlier. You said you wanted to be an adult because nobody knew better than you about you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what I needed to be up to, what I needed to be doing.
Yeah. So my siblings unfortunately went the other way, and they ddn't want family and they didn't want children.
Oh, wow.
And so consequently, I have very few nieces and nephews. And I wanted a large family. I was going to outdo that. And I wound up with a very large family.
Yeah.
Which is what I wanted. So
well done.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good intention.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Going back to kind of present time type stuff.
Sure.
This is going to be a huge shift gears.
Okay.
Like massive.
Okay.
You love cigars. I really like cigars. Trending towards love cigars.
Yeah.
You actually owned a cigar shop.
That's right.
In California,
That's
like
right.
a lounge.
That's right.
When did you start smoking cigars? And why did you have the delusion of opening a business, selling something that you love?
You know, it's funny you say the thing about how you love cigars. I bought this box of cigars, and in the package was a sticker that says "Smoking cigars is like falling in love." I was actually going to bring it to you today, but I forgot. So what happened was I started on my own in 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1998. Excuse me. I just started interested in cigars. I was a cigarette smoker years before, but I didn't really like smoking cigarettes. Yeah. It was really a habit.
Yeah.
Like I would actually smoke cigarettes and as I'm smoking going, this is disgusting. I don't really like this.
Wow.
But you know, I guess was a compulsive personality or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, so I stopped smoking and then I just got interested in cigars. And when I get involved in something, I get involved in it. I mean, anything I do, I feel like you need to go full in.
That's a very positive quality, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think in most people's opinion.
Yeah, similar. And to relate it to sales is like, if you're going to be a sales guy, don't fuck around. Like be a sales guy, read up on it, learn, practice, you know, get advice, you know, seek out knowledge about the subject and hone your skill.
From people who have proven track records. Don't get advice from anybody. Most salespeople, their biggest fault is they just take advice from wherever they can. This guy wrote this book, and then they get dispersed and can't apply any of it. Yeah. Go to people who have a track record.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to slightly disagree with you there.
Fine. Yeah.
Because it's good judgment.
Yeah.
To separate the wheat from the chaff, as they say.
Yeah.
So because if you read something that's complete and total,
it's pronounced chaff.
Chaff. Okay, good. I knew you'd correct me at least once during this. You bust my chops.
There you go.
Yeah. If I expose myself to everything.
Sure.
It's like, I know that Grant has, you know, the little I know about Grant and his philosophies and his success is that he talks about, like, you know, opening his communication lines to the world. Like I answer my phone no matter what, spam calls, you know, junk calls, you know, whatever, I answer them.
Yeah.
I answer my phone if it rings. Someone's trying to reach me, I let them reach me.
Yeah.
And I'm very respectful also.
Yeah.
When somebody, and I know it's a scam,
yeah,
I will go, dude, I know you're trying to make a living, and I grant them who they are.
Wow.
And I know that this is a tough way to make a living, but there's probably other ways you could probably do it.
You try to sell them on not calling more people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, you know, you get guys who are, you know, they have to be right, you know, and the expletives that come out of that end of the phone when I do it is whatever it is. But,
that's funny. Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I got off track here. What?
Yeah, sorry. So,
the cigar thing.
Yeah, the cigar thing. Yeah.
Right. So I just started doing it on my own. Oh no, reading anyone and everything. Like you learn, you expand your knowledge, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, back to cigars. I liked it. I liked the.
Yeah, but what possessed you to open a cigar shop?
Well, here's the thing. Firstly, I was interested in cigars.
Yeah.
As like a social activity almost. Like to me, cigar smoking is not puffing in a bunch of smoke and blowing it out.
Right.
There's a thing to it. Like I don't like. I smoke in a very set circumstance where you can sit and you have time. You can be contemplative. You could be with a buddy. Do you know what I mean? We talked about smoking on a golf course.
Yeah.
You know, well, first of all, golf's hard enough without smoking a fucking, not keeping track of your cigar, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I've run over too many cigars with my golf
Dude, I was just going to say 30 to 40% of the cigars I smoke on the golf course, I lose them like, you know, a quarter of the way through.
Stepped on them or whatever. Yeah. It just was an interest of mine. So I started researching it about how they're made, where they're made, you know, the history of them. And it just became fascinating to me. And I thought, what a cool thing. It wasn't just a cigar shop. It was a lounge. It was 3,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Had a retail space up front with a walk-in humidor, had a private door to the back, pool table, big screen TVs. I used to hold events. Like this is when Tyson was big.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd have 60, 70, 80 people crammed into my club, cigar smoke. You couldn't even see anywhere, you know. People playing pool, big screen TVs. I had a full bar, couple of lounges, private lockers for the members. It was just but see, I got into the business. The cigar business in general was like this.
Yeah.
You know, where it was just like every magazine showed some Hollywood starlet with a cigar and a martini.
Yeah.
So it was really ramping up.
Yeah.
So I got in at this point, and then it kind of went like that. So it didn't really make it as a business.
Oh, gotcha.
But I smoked a lot of cigars.
There you go. When you closed down the business, did you just have just gobs and gobs of cigars?
No,
left?
I sold. I did like a fire sale to just get rid of all the cigars.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So on a kind of wrap up closing note,
sure.
What does the future look like for Tony?
You know, I'm super excited. You know, it's like it's funny, when I was younger, you talked about wanting to be an adult and this sort of thing. But when I became an adult,
you still want to be an adult.
Who? I do, or you do?
You.
No, I
He's
think
not
I'm
quite an adult yet.
I think I am adult, an adult, but I
see, he thinks he's an adult. He doesn't even know.
That's right. And age is a big factor. Like, you know, when I turned 25 years old, you know, the concern about aging and getting older, even at 25, sort of drifted into my mind. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And concern about it and anxiety about it. And I made a decision at that point that the next 5 years were going to be the most vibrant, brilliant, alive years of my life. And I basically, that's an ongoing purpose for me. So, you know,
it's just every next 5 years.
It's every year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, again, I'm 72 years old. I don't feel 72. Yeah, I don't, you know, I'm a little cranky here and there. If I hit too many golf balls, my back's a little stiff, you know. But I don't consider aging. Yeah. I think I maintain a very positive, not getting older attitude. And so last year I had a great year. I had some great, amazing donors last year that helped me push well beyond my previous successes, so to speak.
Previous highest ever.
Yeah, highest evers. Yeah. You know, after 16 years, you know what I mean? I'm not on the downslide of like retirement. I'm definitely on the upswing. I plan to fundraise vibrantly, alive, and violently till I'm 100 years old. I want to be in the hospital like on my deathbed, you know, just going, okay, just make that donation quickly, please. You know,
I'm almost done.
You know, almost done. This is my highest ever. That's my plan.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you for being here with me.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Been a pleasure.
Except for the personal things.
Oh, and before I cut you off, actually, anything you want to leave people with as a closing thought?
No, I think just to summarize, you know, it's like you have to grant the person across from you who they are. You have to leave your ego at the door. You have to leave your misemotion at the door. You have to leave your wantingness, like desperation, you know, like they talk about people can smell desperation, you know, like if a person feels like you're trying to manipulate them because you have to have this, they'll just go running for the door.
You know what's funny? As a prospect, like someone who gets sold things, desperation doesn't smell bad to a prospect. It smells good because they know there's no pain coming.
Well, I didn't get that. No, I didn't get that.
Desperation on a salesperson.
Right.
It smells good to a prospect.
Okay.
People like it. People don't like it.
People.
You get what I mean? It's comforting because if a salesperson is desperate and you recognize that as a prospect, you're not doing business with them.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Okay, good. Yeah, okay, good. Now I understand what you're saying. A lot of
salespeople, they think like, oh, if I can just make this guy comfortable, like make him super, you know, just please him in all ways. It's like, that's in my experience, that's not really how you close people.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those things, being yourself, that's another super important thing.
Well, you definitely get a pass on being yourself.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Dude, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
Thank you.